Greetings and God bless. I wanted to do a little video about a recent experience I had um, with a family member. And what I'm realizing is that if somebody is elderly at a, maybe if you're kind of maybe past your 50s, um, folks are kind of wanting you to wrap up being alive. That's my impression. And so I just if you care about somebody who is in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and beyond, um I think, like it's really good to be informed if you're in that age group. It's really important to have somebody who's your I forget the terminology, like your proxy, your advocate. Like it's important to say, "Hey, I don't want to be on a morphine drip," and it's really important to have somebody that's there to kind of spot you if you're elderly or disabled, because once you're kind of automatically inducted into their system, and if you're surrounded by indifferent family members who are burnt out and maybe legitimately burnt out, because it is very difficult to be a care provider for for anybody. If there's just a lot of burnout. Um, so I'm just like letting you folks know, like this is a tenuous time, and um, once you're in the machine of the medical industry and the hospitals and who knows what else is reaping benefits from people's early demise. Um, like I just wanted to let folks know. And I was experiencing burnout with a family member, and but still, I'm not comfortable with what might have been a shortening of life. And first, they did that protocol that tends to give blood clots because they had never had a clot that I was aware of in the past. And so, after their second protocol and maybe a third, they experienced a blood clot, and things went down from there. So, I think it's important to avoid experimental medical procedures and and employ an advocate. So with this family member, I wanted to get them like a kind of just somebody to drive them places, and I was like, let's hire somebody. And the family member was reluctant, but I think that you can like go outside of the social work realm. I really advise, in my personal experience of social workers, um, and that whole racket, that whole mafia, which I regard as soft human trafficking. Like I know people who are like, who think that it's important to uh, plug into the system and get like the federally funded, get into that kind of low income housing or something like that. But if you know anybody who has done that, um, whoever's accessing benefits tends to be at the mercy of the government and their agents. And like when children of low income are kind of in the system, they tend to be trafficked. This is just known, and a lot of good people who are responsible, who are in that industry, are turning a blind eye, because people are just persuading themselves that this couldn't be possible. However, understand that there's different levels of being trafficked. It's not always about violating physical boundaries or psychological boundaries. So, um, you know, the world, the social service industry has been infiltrated and hijacked by exploitative mentalities. And I think it's probably even, I think it's deeper than that. But to keep this more accessible to just the average viewer, um, those social service agencies are really do not have the end user's interests at heart. They don't have the patient's interests at heart. This is everything is about harvesting, exploiting insurance, and there's all sorts of criminal activity, like but it's like white collar crime. It's exploiting um, um, the patient or whatever, and it's so complex. I don't even know everything that's about it, but there's a lot of bait and switch that I have observed, where place is promoting itself as an advocacy for aging, elderly, disabled, but it's really just a Medicaid sign up um, system. Um, and I don't want to get too distracted with minutia, but also when I was discussing what happened with the family member, people were like, "How old were they?" And then when I said how old they were silent as if to imply, well, they should be dead now. And there are people who live past 100, and I personally do not feel like I have a right to limit somebody's life, and I certainly do not think that some stranger has a right to end um, anybody else's life. I just, even if that person is a very difficult person, if God wants somebody to be alive, I'm like, I'm going to respect God, however annoying that may be. And so I'm just letting folks know, and this is even before the current narrative started with this fear mongering that's been going on, that people were considered disposable. It seems like once you're hitting 60, you're really you don't deserve to be on the planet anymore. And I think this is a very progressive liberal mentality. Even when I was in my 20s and 30s, basically across the board, when I'd be watching a documentary, some new age thing, it's basically humans are a cancer on the planet, and especially, conservative white people. They're the biggest cancer on the planet. Uh, and it's very hypocritical because the majority of the people in the new age audience were white, offspring of conservative families, somewhat, mostly. So it's just very hypocritical, in my opinion, and it's further so because the progressive liberals are not like, well, we need to limit our growth, our carbon footprint by not having children or whatever. I mean, they're like, oh well, humans are a cancer, white people are a cancer, but I'm going to have my children, and oh, my grandchildren should, my children should have grandchildren. Like it's this weird, I don't know, double standard that I have observed. But I think if God put you here, and if you're still alive, and if you have the ability to listen and respond, I really don't think that, yeah, a family member or somebody in a hospital should end your life just out of convenience, which is what, from what little I know, that seemed to have happened to a family member. And of course, I think having taken this blood clotting protocol a couple times, I think that also just created a crisis, and put this person into a vulnerable situation. So if you're past the age of 60, if you're disabled, if you're kind of alone, I think it's important to, if you don't want to have your life terminated out of convenience, expediency by the medical system, I think it's important to maybe have some structures in place, and make your requests known. I mean, there's these different kind of um, wills and paperwork. I think there's one called the Five Wishes, and it's, I would say, like, try not to like have like I think using pain medications that just overrides so much of consciousness of somebody who's injured or ill, and it makes it harder for them to stay alive. I think. I don't know, but this person was on morphine. Nobody told me until after, and I think they they hid, like, I think some people will hide information from uh, a distant advocate of the patient. So, anyways, I find it kind of upsetting that people are like, well, if you're injured, hospitalized, older, well, then you should expect to die. Um, I I I don't like that dismissive, um, uh, incomplete, short-sighted. There's another word that's not coming to me right now, but I think that's wrong. It's probably a crime. I mean, I think it's murder, but because it all happens in a respectable building, so called, whatever goes on is has carte blanche. So it's just I just wanted to put that out there, and also like trying to deal with loose ends, like closing out phone accounts or post office boxes and whatnot. Like folks, like what I find very disturbing or stressful is they're like, well, we want proof that this person, has passed away or whatever. And I'm like, well, why does the phone company why do they have to have a required, like a death certificate? Why do I have to do this kind of paperwork? Because I'm the customer. And the thing is, like, with everything now, whether it's a cell phone or the TV or, like your service for the internet or, you know, um, the AARP, you're on the phone for like 10 to 20 minutes if you even get a hold of anybody. And then they're trying to upsell you or trying to kind of bamboozle you somehow. And it's I'm already kind of frustrated with what happened with family in this situation and what has led up to it for the past couple of years. And uh and then these customer service people who are just, you know I'm sure they're understaffed because no company is properly staffing anybody. They're exploiting their employees, and generally I'm fairly patient, but today I just had enough. And then these call center employees are just reading a script, and I just want to get things done. I don't want to have to listen to a script. I don't want to have to listen to some marketing. I don't want to have to navigate whatever. I just want to get things done. And so I'm just saying, this the all these conveniences do not make it easy even to use. I mean, like, my dad had this particular cell phone. He used it basically once, and it wasn't worth it. And I guess this is a maybe a good reason for some minimalism. Like, I think it's, even buying stuff. uh there's just so many options right now in 2020. You go to the dollar store or you go to Target or Walmart or whatever, and just every possible desire is can be fulfilled. And when that's the case, that means there's almost like too much of a good thing. And I would include like services that, like our internet and our cell phones and whatever. I mean, and I know we're so dependent. I'm very dependent myself. However, trying to get things remedied, trying to deal with any mistakes or whatever. It's like for me, in my opinion, and maybe for my personality type, it's just such an ordeal to, after 10, 20 minutes waiting on hold with having to listen to some gross, annoying phone music, and then going through all of the identification stuff that they need. And I know there's hackers and stuff like that. Uh, and I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just modern times. But wanted to do a video just to share my experiences. Um, and yeah, and I don't know if all of the things that I need to do to help with closure of this family members passing away. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of unpleasant surprise that some big corporation who couldn't care less is just going to make things difficult, and that may be part of the situation, because it seems like a lot of businesses just like creating a lot of friction for the customer. It doesn't seem like the customer is even the customer. Doesn't, even though big, telecom is charging a lot of money, but I'm wondering if telecom is actually a weaponized kind of um, like if it's weaponized, because they keep you on hold, they don't address your problems. There's like, I mean, even like PayPal, somebody stole my identity, tried to create it. They created a PayPal account, and I spent a year talking to different levels of PayPal, and basically PayPal tried to say that I created this account. And I mean, it seems like these conveniences are actually weaponized against the customer, and the customer seems to not have any recourse, seems to not have any power. Um, so yeah, it's pretty dismal report from this location, but this is just kind of how it seems to me. So thank you for listening. God bless.